All right, welcome to the On Texas Football Sunday Night live stream. I'm Jeff Howe, filling in for Rod Babers. He is Jerry Hamilton here as always. We're here to take your questions, talk about Texas and Kentucky, start looking ahead to Mississippi State, maybe take a look around the SEC, see what's cracking. Everybody appreciate the response in the chat. The chat is lively already. Super chats jump to the front of the line. Before we do anything else, though, Jerry, the sponsor of the Sunday Night live stream every week, let everybody know about Rogue Shop.
Rogue Shop, yeah, they're bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Rogue Shop ships nationwide. Make sure you use that promo code ONTEXAS for a special discount. The Rogue Shop has it all, from oils and creams to flour and gummies. Again, that's rogueshop.com. Use that code ONTEXAS for a special discount. Thank you to rogueshop.com for continuing to be a sponsor of On Texas Football.
No doubt. All right, Jerry, let's start with Texas and Kentucky. It's a 16-13 win in overtime for Texas. There's a lot of ways we can go, but let's start with the offense. And again, there's so much to unpack, but I think it just needs to be put into perspective. The historic nature of the ineptitude last night. I should never have to talk about a Steve Sarkisian offense and mention a Sean Watson offense, but here we are.
Yeah, and I thought about my summation of it last night, and I posted it on OnTexasFootball.com. But for those that aren't on TexasFootball.com, this is my summation of last night.
We couldn't do diddly poo offensively. We couldn't make a first down. We couldn't run the ball. We didn't try to run the ball. We couldn't complete a pass. We sucked.
I thought about the funniest Jim Moore rant, and I was like, that was it. I mean, and that was – I posted it on TexasFootball.com. That was my summation of what I saw last night. And that was it, Jeff. I mean, that sums it up pretty well.
You hit it during rapid reactions because you and Bobby got to it right off the top, and I thought you made a good point. Look, is it an Ards problem? Is it a Sark problem? Is it an O-line problem? When it's that bad, it's everybody's problem. Like nobody did. We did grades, myself and CJ and Coach Shipley. We did grades. I think a C- was the highest position grade we gave to anybody on offense, and I did that with the running backs just because I can't completely blame them for when you're taken out of the game and you can only do so much to control your involvement in the game, but. Jerry, I think there's two different conversations that need to be had with the offense. One dealing with the long term and one dealing with the short term. In the long term, we can talk about the long term. Does Sark need to make staff changes? Does he need to hire a play caller, go into the portal for offensive line help? Like that's out there until you get to that point. And a lot of that stuff is valid. But I think right now, and this is where I'm at, Jerry, I want you to tell me if I'm wrong. And I'm going off of what Sark said last night, using my eyes and thinking forward. You're basically asking the offense right now with this style of play you want to use that worked against Oklahoma, where you're going to play field position, rely on a kicking game, rely on your defense. You're asking the offense to do the absolute bare minimum, which is don't turn the ball over, don't have negative plays, and when you get sudden changes or red zone or whatever, maximize your opportunities. That bar, Jerry, has been lowered so low, and even last night the offense couldn't clear it. It's disturbing how much they regressed from one week to the next.
Yeah, and how different it looked. I mean, how different it looked was the thing for me is I loved a lot of what I saw against Oklahoma, and it just wasn't there. It attempted there, whatever you want to call it, last night in Lexington. And when you look at this Texas offense for what it is, to the now and to get through the rest of this season the best you can, it's about playing in third and short and third and medium. And how do you get there? How do you get there? Like there was a play, somebody referenced it in the chat already. There was an 8-yard run early in the second half, right, with Trey Weissner, maybe in the first play. And then Texas got stoned on second down. And so it's 3rd and 2. And I was fine with that because it's 3rd and 2. Then you have to execute 3rd and 2. Okay. And by the way, I want to say this. Kentucky's still not good on defense. That'll be proven out this year. They're still not good on defense. South Carolina, who has terrible offensive line issues, still rushed for 178 yards against Kentucky and scored 35 and won that game 35-13. Ole Miss with Austin Simmons before they went to Chambliss, rushed for 220 yards. And they don't really run it effectively on a lot of people. And then you had Georgia, who ran it for 180 and, had 430 total yards. Kentucky's still not a good defense, and that'll be proven out. They didn't magically find it in a week, in an off week. No chance. So people will score on Kentucky. People will run on Kentucky. And now, kind of the way I'm looking at this is, how do you just get as many third and shorts, third and mediums as possible? Because when Texas is in third and longs, the offensive line and Arch are really struggling. And, look, an Arch, again, missed the easy throws. I mean, the throws you have to make.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's one player. I don't think it's one position. I don't think it's one coach. I think it's all of it. That's the only way you get to 172 yards against a bad defense.
Yeah. This is only the second.
All of it.
Yeah.
It's all of it.
It's only the second time a Sark offense has failed to crack 200 yards of total offense. The only other time that happened. And again, Jerry, think about the opponents we're about to talk about, the defenses we're about to talk about. You failed to crack it in 2022 against TCU. That was a TCU team that made the playoff. It's the worst outing a Texas offense has had, period, since the 2015 season opener against Notre Dame. That was a Notre Dame defense, Jerry, when Jalen Smith still had two good legs.
Yeah.
So, and that Notre Dame defense had NFL guys all over the field. This Kentucky defense, like you said, Jerry, they weren't good. They were giving up an average of 193 rushing yards per game in SEC play coming into the game. So it's not like this Kentucky. This is not anywhere close to the best Kentucky defense Mark Stoops has had. And again, it's just that regression. Go looking through some of the numbers, Jerry, and I crunched some of these. I posted my article, my column from the game over on TexasFootball.com. Texas, of their, it's really looking at their 55 snaps. Really, it's 53 because you had two kneel downs. But of the 55 snaps, 24 of them were passing downs, which is 2nd and 8+, and 3rd and 4th downs with 5+ to go. Basically, almost half your snaps you're behind the chains. On first down in this game, you're averaging 3.5 yards per play on first down, which isn't great, but it's manageable. But Jerry, to your point, like the part where I fault Sark is, even when you did start drives well, it's almost like you're just trying stuff out to see what works, and there's no real rhyme or reason why. And all of a sudden, hey, you go from, to your point earlier, like 2nd and 2, 2nd and 7. Now you have a negative play or a no gain, and now the offense's momentum is stunted. So I don't know. It's everybody last night took turns getting in the offense's way. Yeah.
Look, I mean, it's not one position. It's not one player. It's the whole thing. You only get to 172 yards and 8 first downs against a bad defense if it's a lot of things. It's more than one thing. Yeah. It's everything at that point. There's no there, and maybe that's not fair to the wide receivers, because the wide receivers were open, and when they were open, the ball was just sprayed all over the place, right? There were some big plays to be made, and the ball was not put on those guys. Right. I mean, Emmett Mosley might have scored on that slant. Ryan Wingo on the injuries. The injuries, that's a 25, 30-yard gain. The one to Ryan Wingo on the third down, that's probably a 25, 30-yard gain. So there was those 3 plays right there left a lot. So it's hard to put everything, every position out there. That may not be fair by me in the run. And, I thought Trey Wisner did I thought Texas could have ran the ball more and probably been effective, because everybody had been against Kentucky to a certain extent. But it's just too much of all of it. In one player, one position doesn't create 172 yards. No, it just doesn't. Not against a team that had been giving up 193 rushing in SEC play before anybody threw a pass. So
you mentioned it, Jerry. Wisner and Christian Clark both. I thought they did the best they could with the limited opportunities that both of them had. Like, it's not a silver lining, but that was the most explosive we've seen Christian Clark look since he's come back from the injury. So I'll take that. But I mean, that and $5 will get you a decent cup of coffee. Jerry, let's go. Let's continue to break this down and unpack this with some of the super chats. Thanks everybody for the super chats. KD35, I am the best. After 7 games now, there should be no more excuses for this offense. Players should be getting better weekly, not regressing. Jerry, that's the thing that blows my mind. It's not just that you regressed, like you went back to like this was UTEP levels of bad on offense last night.
Yeah, though UTEP art showed up for a while in that game, and the thing that is most concerning to me, and I agree with Katie, I'm the best. There's just no excuse. It's like unacceptable offensive football 7 games into the season. I mean, it is what it is. Jeff, you said it's the least offensive yards since Texas went to Notre Dame in 2015, 163. I mean, it's unacceptable. And I think the thing that is just baffling to me is you went to Florida 2 weeks prior and you didn't bring it in that game. Then you build against Oklahoma. And I was the first one to say it's hard to get up emotionally for all these games. It's just not human nature. And that's why Kentucky is kind of who they are at home. And we kind of documented that all week. But that has nothing to do with how bad that was last night offensively. I mean, that has nothing to do. I was looking up today, like modern records. I was trying to find modern day records, like in SEC play. What's the least amount of first downs? Not like 1944 and Kentucky had negative 21 yards against Georgia. Nothing like that. Modern day, the least amount of yards and first downs by an offensive team. And maybe since 2000 in SEC. If somebody can find that, I'd be interested to know where Texas ranks there in total yards in a game and first downs in a game, lack of first downs in a game with 8. I'd be interested to know. But I think that's the thing for me is it's, again, it's not – you don't want to be this team. And Texas is clearly this team. And the highs are high, but they're not even that high. And the lows are lower than where they need to be. And last night, that's just not acceptable offensive football at the University of Texas, period.
No, I don't know that I can say it any better than that, Jerry. It's just, this is where I'm at with this offense. It's not going to be an elite offense. I think if you haven't accepted that by this point, you need to accept it. But what the offense showed against Oklahoma is within the framework of how you have to win games right now. You can put a competitive product on the field. And like I said, the bar has been lowered. It's lower than it has been at any point under Sark for what the offense needs to do. And you couldn't even clear, you didn't even come close to clearing that insanely low bar. So I'm kind of with you, Jerry. You'd expect Kentucky coming off a bye week at home. This is kind of their last stand. I didn't pick Texas to cover because I figured, hey, Kentucky's probably going to come out and play a pretty emotionally charged game because if they're going to win a game this year, they probably felt like this was, Texas coming off a emotionally charged win against Oklahoma. They're coming off a bye. It's a home game. They had a chance to get it. They didn't get it. But, the saving grace last night was that's a bad football team, and Texas had enough talent and was – pretty much flawed, with the exception of a couple pre-snap penalties, was flawless enough in the kicking game to make up for the offensive shortcomings. That's how good you had to be. You had to be flawless in the kicking game, and your defense had to start and end the game with goal line stands for you to win.
Yeah, and look, by the way, I want to give some kudos because, again, Texas defense obviously did enough to win that game. And the stats don't look great for Texas, but they were on the field for 85 plays in that game. I mean, you look at 395 yards, and if you just look there, you say, wow, kind of, Kentucky's not good on offense. Yeah, well, they ran 81 plays in regulation. I mean, and at some point you start getting tired, right? And Texas defense obviously did enough to win that football game, and they did. I want to give some kudos to, obviously, Mason Shipley came up huge for Texas. Jack Boomeester, another good night. But Ryan Niblett, we've talked about players losing confidence on the offense. Mm-hmm. Ryan Niblett's gaining confidence as a return man. That first punt return he had, the 44-yarder to set up the red zone score for Texas, I'm not sure he fields that ball week 1. I'm not sure he actually fields that ball because that was a contested catch with a guy coming into his peripheral. Then he had to make a move. Then he had to get to the sidelines to create the big play. I don't think he makes that return week 1. So he's gaining confidence, because that's one of the things I want to see. Nibble, you got to field the ball. You can't give up all this hidden yardage in SEC play. Give him credit. He's gaining more confidence. And Texas leads the SEC. I was looking at SEC stats before the show. Texas leads the SEC in punt return right now. So kudos to Ryan Niblett for that the last 2 weeks. But, all wasn't bad. But when the offense is that putrid and you know Kentucky's not a good team, and the coach is going to get fired, and Kentucky probably gave that game away. Kentucky fans would argue they gave that game away.
Yeah.
Then that's how bad it really is. Because, Kentucky couldn't play with South Carolina on the road, and South Carolina's a bad football team right now.
Yeah, when you're you can't have half as many 3 and outs as you do first downs.
Yeah,
and expect to succeed, but you did. Jerry, I'll also back up if we want to talk about some good stuff. The one good thing I did hear and see in the post game. I thought Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill, both tremendous leadership last night. Actually, Colin Simmons corrected Sark, because Sark said, hey, our identity is a defense and special teams. And Colin said, well, I think he meant to say defense, special teams, and offense. He said, because we're a whole team. We're a complete team. Anthony Hill said, hey, we've got to go back and look at what we did wrong and fix things. So these are your defensive leaders, Jerry, at least publicly. They're not throwing the offense under the bus. They're not feeling sorry for anybody. They're ready to pick the offense up. Ant Hill even said, look, we're going to keep supporting these guys. We feel like their time is going to come. I just thought both those guys, that for where their careers are trajecting, they don't have to do that. But I thought it showed really good leadership and football character by both those guys last night. No,
it did. And look, let's give some credit to Colin Simmons. He did not have a great start to this season, and I'm guessing he would say that. But the last 2 games, and really there was a couple of series against Florida, maybe not the game itself, but a couple of series against Florida. But Oklahoma and Kentucky is 5.5 sacks and a forced fumble in the last 2 games. 9 tackles, 5.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. He is getting it right now. Mm-hmm. He is getting it, and he's going to end up probably looking out. And hey, here's the good news, Colin Simmons. Here's good news for you. Mississippi State is 14th in the SEC in sacks allowed this year. They're one of the worst teams in the SEC in pass pro and in sacks allowed. They've given up 20 sacks this season. So that's great news for Colin Simmons. Maybe Anthony Hill gets his first sack in Starkville. They started to blitz him a little bit more. I thought Trey Moore was a bright spot last night. I know the offsides. Somebody sent a video. That was actually a false start that should have been called on that play with Trey Moore. But Colin Simmons, kudos to him. He's up to 7 sacks now. He's starting to play at that All-American level. Again, good news for Texas, who is now up to number 3 in the SEC in sacks with 21 after the slow start this season. Mississippi State is 14th in the conference in sacks allowed. So something to know in that game going in from a Texas defensive perspective, where Mississippi State does not sack the quarterback either. They only have 10 on the season. Now, that's been the case for Florida and Kentucky as well. Texas offensive line's got to play better on the road. Somebody asked about Cole Hudson being out. I do think that probably impacted Texas last night. That communication, Connor Robertson's first start, the communication before the play begins, his first start on the road, and then obviously they didn't play particularly well as center left guard in pass pro in that game, and probably in run blocking a little bit as well. But I do think Cole Hudson being out, obviously if your center's out, that's going to affect you a little bit. But there's some Texas defense should be able to get after Mississippi State, Blake Shapen in pass rush, which I'm sure we'll get into. Yeah, Blake Shapen's still upright at this point in the season, so good for him. That hadn't been the case for his career. Jerry, let's start burning through some of these super chats. Killa 1021, thank you for the super chat. That I think we are similar to 24 Bama. Play the easy games way too close and show out for the rivalry games. Difference was year 1 of DeBoer. This is season 5 for Sark. Also, we need to hire an OC. Jerry, here's where I am on the offensive coordinator stuff. Unless it's either painfully obvious that it needs to happen, and what I mean by that is the offense has a couple more of these games like they had last night, or it comes from above him to change. It's going to take a lot for Sark to relinquish those play calling duties. I know we all see what's happening, but us expecting it and feeling like it needs to happen and him doing it
two totally different things. But I don't know if it's that, Jerry, but something within the guts of this offense has got to change going into next season, because you got to reinvent yourself at this point.
Yeah, and the biggest question is, before we get to all that talk, is how are you going to maximize this season? Because that's the worst team you're going to play the rest of the way Saturday. Oklahoma's the worst rushing offense with running backs you're going to play the rest of the season. Everybody else from here on out is better. So you're going to be forced to score more points or turn it into a really low possession football game. And I think Sark has a hard time doing that. That's just nuts. I know he did it a little bit, but I think it's 1 and 2 yard running gains are really hard. He's an aggressive guy. He wants to throw the ball down the field. I think that's really tough for him to turn that offense into that this season. But they're going to have to. Because if they get in any score fest down the stretch, they're going to lose those games. And by the way, you're going to have to score. I mean, look, everybody's – somebody in the chat and so it was like, oh, well, Texas is a young offense. Well, what's Georgia starting? 2 true freshmen on the offensive line, first-year starting quarterback, first-year starting running backs. The number 1 and 2 are first-year starters whoever starts at running back. Wide receivers out of the portal that are new to the program. So there's some other teams that are similar out there, by the way, and that are doing all right. And you're going to have to score points in those games. You're going to have to score. I mean, what Lane was in his total bag calling plays yesterday, and it still wasn't enough. And he scored on his first 5 possessions. And nobody's done that against Kirby, and they still didn't win the game because Georgia is scoring the football. And people, I know Texas is a better defense than Ole Miss, but you're going to have to score. You have to score in the mid-20s in some of these games. A&M offensively, pretty good if they're healthy enough. Arkansas, Bobby Petrino is going to score some points on you. You're going to have to score in these games. Mississippi State's probably going to score on you. You're going to have to score in these games. And Vanderbilt, with what they do and the way Pavia is as a human being, they're going to score. And as an alpha, they're going to score. You're going to have to score in the mid-20s to win some of these games. And that's the thing. So if you don't have confidence you can do that for whatever reason, then you have to turn this into really low possession games, and you have to be willing to play in 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 5 and see how many conversions you can get and string drives along. And I think that's the toughest thing for offensive-minded coaches who like to be very aggressive.
There was a point last night where it felt like, and I even said it out loud in the press box, I'm like, okay, they're back to just hunting shot plays and, kind of thinking you can waste possessions. And in some of these games, like, I know you play Mississippi State next, but like when you play Vanderbilt in 2 weeks, you can't waste possessions against that team, because Clark Lee has no compunction, Jerry, about playing a low possession game and grinding clock down and just putting it in Diego Pavia's hands. Because for them, 3rd and 5 or less is money for them. They'll take that all day, every day. It's got to be a philosophical change from Sark at this point, because you are what you are at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, to your point, now what do you do with that, and how do you make the most of it? Let's go ahead and lots of super chats coming through. So thank you everybody for contributing. Juan Garza, thank you for the super chat. If Florida State fired Mike Norvell, I think Golish to Ole Miss and Summerall to Kentucky. Florida State may be interested in Mike McDaniel or James Franklin. I don't know what producer Matthew would think about Mike McDaniel and James Franklin at Florida State, but Jerry, I don't know. We talked about, you and I talked about this last week, just the craziness that the Penn State move would have on the entire coaching cycle. Now, Arkansas was already open. Florida's open. Florida State's probably going to come open here pretty soon.
Auburn might. Does Michigan come open? Like, it could be, if you decide that Marcus Freeman, and there's a few elite coaches out there that you can go get, you may want to open it up if you're borderline. Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm Florida, I'm offering Marcus Freeman $15 million a year and making him turn me down. I think he would be a dynamite hire for the next 10 to 12 years at a near blue blood university. And I know he's at Notre Dame, but I'm talking if you can get him at a University of Florida or something, you're done with your coaching failures for the next decade. And you're set, and that guy would be a recruiting witch at Florida. I'm just here to tell you. I know the guy a little bit. Just look at what he's doing. That's who I'd go for if I'm Florida. And I'm sure that's Penn State's number one as well, but I don't think they can get that one done. But he would be my number one guy at the University of Florida, far and away, not even close. I'd probably offer him a crazy contract to try to get him to Florida just to solidify my program for the next 10 to 12 years in college football. I think he's built for where college football is and where it's headed. And I think he's a tremendous recruiter. And I think he's shown he knows who to hire and when to hire him. I know Chris Ash, some people say, well, defense hasn't worked out. Well, he's going to go, unless they really step their toe, he's going back to the playoffs for a second year in a row after they beat USC. So that guy just knows he's just really good. I really think that guy's really good. And what's going to be interesting is if FSU opens, producer Matt's talked about some possibilities with FSU. Do they go to the John Summerall hire and put, hey, here's this and make it more incentive based and then have more money from an NIL standpoint? And especially with all the buyout. There's so many things going on right now in college football. Are we – and I think Mac Brown may have said this, and I think he thinks they're going to go to higher salaries with no buyouts in the future. I could see that too. So Marcus Freeman, here's $15 million a year, and your buyout's very minimum. But we're going to pay you $15 million a year to get you here and make you our guy at Florida. And then with a minimum buyout. And say, here's, we're front loading this thing for you because we think you're our guy, and we're willing to go there.
I mean, Jerry, there's a chance. Does LSU come open? Do they pay the buyout for Brian Kelly?
Does Brian Kelly try to get to Penn State? I mean, does he try to get out? That's all the crazy stuff that's going to go on, I think, with this coaching carousel and where it can go. Look, if Auburn opens, boy, it won't shock me if Eli Drinkwitz at number one there, and if he doesn't jump on that job, if he can't get Florida. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I know we got to talk Texas, but the two SEC coaches that I'm thinking, like, man, somebody, because I just think they're really good football coaches, and Drink personality wise has grown on me.
Yeah.
Is Drink and Clark Lee. I mean, I think at some point, and I know Clark Lee's a Vanderbilt guy. He's a Nashville guy. He's at his alma mater. But Jerry, I don't want to see Clark Lee do to his career what Matt Campbell has done to his, where now you've turned down so many jobs that nobody's knocking at the door anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. That Clark Lee will be interesting because this is my take on Clark Lee. He's got the best player he'll ever have at Vanderbilt right now, more than likely.
Yeah.
If he stays after Pavia is done, that means they really like their next guys in line. These guys leave, even if it's their alma mater. These guys leave if they think the drop-off's behind them and they've kind of reached their peak at a certain school. If Clark Lee, as long as he's not too loyal, and that could happen. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. But if he stays, I do think it's a sign that they like probably the next quarterback up and some of their pieces coming up. Because if you don't like those pieces, you're trying to move on, even if you went to that university.
Yeah.
Because look, Rick Barnes, one of his funny sayings used to be Rick Barnes would say, "Proud peacock today, feather duster tomorrow." Think about Sark, proud peacock. Saturday after they beat Oklahoma, feather duster, damn near feather duster Saturday night in Kentucky. I mean, Rick Barnes saying, it's very true in college athletics.
You're maybe a Drew Aller interception away from James Franklin coaching in the national championship game last year, and now he's out of a job. So it's just the way the cookie crumbles today. Juan, thank you for the super chat. Jonah Williams enthusiast with a super chat. Sark wants to open with the pass and close with the run. I just don't think that fits this group. Jerry, I'm with you because the style you're talking about, where it's a low possession game and you're playing for third down and you're just trying to be efficient and convert and maximize your possessions, like that's the style they played against Oklahoma. I don't know if Sark can't embrace that, or he felt like, man, maybe this was just a one-off and let's get back to doing what we do. But that right now, until proven otherwise, is the style of play this team has to rely on.
They're going to have to. They're going to have to. There's no doubt about it. And you got to be willing to play and take 2 runs for 5 yards a lot of times on a lot of possessions and just get to 3rd and 5. I mean, that's where you have to be willing to be, because there's too much 3rd and longs known with this team so far this year, especially considering you're on the road again next week.
Yeah.
And then you still have to go to Georgia. And those 2 games are tougher than the one you just played. So that you're gonna have to turn them into lower possession games and try to get out with a W. And I just don't know if that truly is going to work because teams are going to score more. And as good as Texas is on defense, if it's anything like Saturday, if the Texas defense has to stay on the field 75 plus plays against a Mississippi State or Georgia, what are your odds that you're really going to win that game? Because the difference is those teams they're going to score the ball more.
Yeah. It's unrealistic to expect the defense to hold every opponent to under 20 points the rest of the way, which the way the offense is playing, that's what you need. So but you're going to need the offense to score points at some point. Juan Garza, another super chat, said Texas has never been a team whole 2023. It was the pass defense. 2024, it was consistent running game, bad special teams. 2025, bad offense, good defense on special teams. Jerry, I know the 2023 team had issues on the back end, but that's about as complete a team as Sark has had. The bad thing for me with 23 was we never got to see the offense with all of those parts together at its peak because Quinn got hurt, and when Quinn was coming back, that's when Jonathan Brooks got hurt. We never got to see the whole deal all the way. I will die on the hill. I think Texas beats Washington and they beat Michigan if Jonathan Brooks doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, I think they beat Washington, and I don't know about the title game, but I do think they get to the title game in 23 with healthy.
I would have loved to have seen that Texas. Both those lines of scrimmage that year were tremendous. Juan Garza with the super chats tonight. Thank you, Juan. Said, I'm still a Texas believer. I believe in this team. Look at Penn State and Florida States and ISU. Are we better than those teams? Look, Jerry, here's where I am with this team. I'm not even thinking about, I watched the A&M Arkansas game a little bit in the press box just because it was entertaining. I'm not even thinking about, can Texas play with A&M? What's it going to look like when you play Arkansas? I'm at the point with this team where I'm thinking, all right, we'll unpack what happened in Lexington. I'm looking at Starkville, and I can't look beyond that at this point.
Yeah.
I don't really care where Texas is in the top 25. It is a week-to-week proposition with this team for me right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one area I'm different than a lot of the people in conversation is when a team starts struggling, a lot of times, the players just aren't that talented. That's not where I come out on this. That's just not where I come out on this. I mean, look, if the ball's put on Emmett Mosley a couple of times last night, one for sure he might have scored. I mean, Ryan Wingo's had his issues, don't get me wrong. How many times has he been missed on throws you have to make where his speed could actually take over, hitting him in stride, where his athleticism can take over? I don't think these guys are without athleticism. I don't think they're without speed. I think it'll be proven out in future NFL combines. Does that mean they're going to run 4.21 like Worthy? No. But there's been plenty of national championships won more than not with guys that run 4.38 to 4.45.
Yeah.
And Texas has plenty of speed. They have plenty of athleticism. I'm just not there on the talent issue. It just goes beyond that for me.
No, and this is probably, Jerry, me oversimplifying it, but I think the further away you get from the ball based on the position you play, the less it's completely in your hands. You're more dependent. The further away you get from the ball, the more dependent you are on other guys doing their job. Like for Ryan Wingo, the offensive line has to do its job. Arch has to do his job. And then obviously you've got to do your job. There's a lot of things that have to go right for the receiver to even be in a position to make a play. It never, I don't know, with the receivers and the tight ends, both in the pass game, it never got to the point where on the rare occasions it did get schemed up right and you were open, the ball wasn't thrown in the place where it needed to be. So it was one thing after another. Las Vegas Horn, thank you for the super chat. It said Jeff used to say football is a simple game complicated by simple men. Hope I quoted you right. Yes, I heard that one time from a college coach who spent time in the NFL. Football is a simple game made complicated by simple men. It just is what it is. Sometimes you just overthink it. You overcook your bacon. Jerry, that's exactly what we're talking about. I just think Sark is doing that right now. It may not be what you want to be right now, but I think it's what you have to be, is a low possession offense that, you got to earn your explosives.
Yeah. You have to really grind with this as it stands right now, unless Arch becomes much more accurate with the football. That's where you're at. Jerry,
I think this one from the crime piece is a lot of talk about it in the chat. It's like, gun to your head, who is quarterback in week 1 next year? Arch is over his skis. He's not an SEC quarterback. He needs to transfer to a lower tier conference. I'm not you can call me whatever you want. I'm not ready to give up on Arch Manning yet. I'm just not. I was thinking about this today, Jerry. Like a guy like Bo Nix, like who wasn't good early on, ended up being a first-round pick and is having success in the NFL. Some guys, it just takes a little bit longer. I've seen too many good things to just give up on Arch or cast him aside at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the biggest thing with Arch is mental, and it's going to be up to him to get over that hurdle. You cannot, no quarterback will ever miss the throws he's missing in games and be a quality player. It's just going to be too inconsistent. It's going to be too up and down. And you're going to leave too many big plays on the field with inaccurate throws. I mean, that's the bottom line with any quarterback. I think his is more mental than physical, but by far. And I think it's going to be is Arch going to get past the mental part of this? Because look, UTEP March showed up in that game. That's the second time that it showed up at that level this season, and you can't have that and beat anybody good. Again, Kentucky hadn't won an SEC game in over a year. They're not very good.
Brutal.
So you're not going to beat anybody good playing that level of quarterback.
Jerry, let's stick with the Arch team. Billy Woods has a super chat. Says, elephant in the room, quarterback play, assist the head coach in salary increase or refresh the resume. Arch is stagnant, no progression or regression. Your thoughts? Again, like he didn't do himself any favors last night, but man, it was just so bad all the way around. Where do you, here's one Arch related thing, Jerry, that CJ and I talked about. I don't remember if this was the quick recap or grades because a lot of it's blurring together for me at this point, but Sark talked about needing to scheme easier throws for Arch, and I agree, but CJ made the point that's valid, but in this league, you can't hold a quarterback's hand either and just spoon feed him. At some point, you got to turn him loose and let go. So I'm with you. I don't know if it's mental or whatever, but there's that wall he's got to clear at some point.
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, the whole thing with a quarterback, for any quarterback, is when it gets difficult, whether that's mental or the offensive line's not protecting, they take away what you want to do. You can't run the football one game. I mean, it can be many things over the course of a season. Are you a playmaker? Bottom line, are you a playmaker? You have to be a playmaker, because if you have to have perfection around you to be successful, then you're limited anyways. You have to be a playmaker. And that's my biggest thing. And again, it's like, and look, Arch has been hit hard. I'm sure he's sore. I'm guessing he's not close to 100% at this point after taking all the hits he has the last few weeks. At the same time, when somebody's in your face, your win or lose as a quarterback is the play you make in those situations. And like the throw to Wingo, right? On that third down early in that game where you hang on your back heel, your left shoulder's high, your elbow's low, ball's going to sail. I mean, you have to be a playmaker at this position, especially under duress. That's where these guys, that's the difference for these quarterbacks. I mean, like Nebraska, somebody was talking about Dylan Raiola on TexasFootball.com, and I was like, you can try to copy Pat Mahomes all you want, but if you aren't that playmaker, I don't care who your quarterback coach is. I don't care what it looks like when the ball leaves your hand. None of that crap matters. Are you going to go make the play? And quarterbacks have to be playmakers when it's the fan.
Look, I'm a Sam Ehlinger apologist. I love Sam, and I remember, Jerry, I'll never forget being at a court. I know we got super chats to get to. I'll make this quick. I'm at a quarterback camp. It's a Steve Clarkson camp out in Bastrop of all places that I got invited to. It was the 3 quarterbacks throwing were Sean Robinson, Tate Martell, and Sam. And everybody's there gushing about the other 2. I'm like, well, the one nobody's talking about is the guy that probably has the best high school tape, plays the best when the pads are on, when it matters. I don't know about these other 2. Like, yeah, he's good. But look at these other 2. Well, one of those guys was an NFL quarterback and the other 2 aren't. So to your point, sometimes it just boils down to Doesn't matter what you look like. Guys just have to make plays. Justin, we'll get to your super chat. We'll run through these super chats here in just a minute. But Jerry, one more time, let everybody know about Rogue Shop.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you to Rogue Shop for being one of the sponsors of OnTexasFootball.com and On Texas Football YouTube, long-term sponsors. Rogue Shop is bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Rogue Shop ships nationwide. Make sure you use that promo code OnTexas for a special discount. The Rogue Shop has it all, from oils and creams to flowers and gummies. Again, that's rogueshop.com. Use code OnTexas for a special discount.
All right, Justin Yarbrough, thank you for the super chat. Said Arch needs to find his juice. We watched him pick up the team when he came in last night. I didn't see it. I would love to be fly on the walls in meetings in the buildings this week in the next few weeks. Jerry, it's one of those deals, I think, when, to your point, when you don't have confidence in yourself for whatever reason, it's hard to exude that confidence and have it rub off on everybody else.
And it's kind of what I was talking about earlier. I think it's all right here between the ears with Arch, and he's got to get past that. And will he get past that?
Yep. All right. Thank you, Justin, for the super chat. Let's see. Forrest Eldridge, thank you for the super chat. So we were lied to about Wingo. He isn't a number one. No contested catches. Doesn't run the route tree. Doesn't break tackles. Doesn't block. Poor chemistry with Arch, and still leads the team in targets. Jerry, I want to shelve Wingo for just a sec. One thing that stood out to me, I don't know how you get through a conference game and Parker Livingston doesn't have a target in the game. Like I think it's about getting the ball to your playmakers. But to your point, and I think if it's a play, Jerry, you're talking about earlier, like Wingo on the crosser, where it's like a little mesh concept and he busts open, man, if Arch puts that on him, he's running for about 25, 30 yards before anybody gets close to him.
Yeah, it's a really weird, and look, I don't think Wingo's played well. By the way, I don't think he's played at a high level. Too many drops. The blocking's an issue. Maybe not working back to the football like he should be in year two. But then when something is there for him, the ball's not put on him. So it's like a perfect storm of whatever you want to call it that's not good. But he has not played well. DeAndre Moore's clearly the best receiver on this team, all-around receiver, because Parker Livingston's got to get stronger. He's got to learn. He's got to be a better blocker, right? And I think DeAndre Moore's clearly the best receiver on this team right now. And Wingo, he's going to have to take a huge step as an all-around wide receiver to even reach the talent level he has at this point.
And to your point about Demo, he again just shows you the nature of the beast last night. He somehow loses that game. We're talking about that being one of your offensive leaders making a catastrophic mistake. You can't
run out of bounds. You can't run out of bounds there. And he knew it once he did it. I mean, but it can't happen. You're a third-year player, fourth-year junior. You got to be able to hit the slide button there and stay in bounds. Do whatever you have to stay in bounds.
To his credit, he did own it after the game and felt bad about it, but thankfully it didn't cost Texas a loss last night. Jeff Carey, thank you for the super chat. How did Sark misjudge his own offensive talent and coaching, especially since he is an offensive genius that spent around $35 million? Hey, Jerry, he wouldn't be the first Texas coach to misjudge their talent or to just have stuff. You go through an offseason, you think it's going to be one way, and it just ends up being something completely different.
Yeah, so me personally, I think going into this season, Sark with Arch wanted to play under center more, have more play action, more back to the quarterback, right? More throws vertical down the field, which is what Sark wants to attack. Outside the numbers, the whole field to attack with, and Arch wants to throw the ball down the field. And you have to have a run game. That's why they went to more power run based stuff if Cedric Baxter's healthy. Gap and power schemes. I think that's how they envisioned it on paper going into the season. And I don't think any of it's played out that way. And that's the problem, is what you wanted to do and what you recruited to, what you wanted to do on this team, it hasn't worked. And now you have to shift everything you want to do in some instances to win football games. And then your quarterback is playing too inconsistent. Offensive line's too inconsistent. So receiver, too inconsistent. You should be number one, talent-wise, too inconsistent. So none of the on paper has worked. But again, I don't think this program's void of talent at all. At all. I'm putting it out there. I'm not going to throw that one out there. There's no way. These guys are nationally recruited players. The many, many schools. Just look at the recruitments of these guys, who they came down to. I think this team has plenty of talent. I just do.
I'm with you.
I seen these kids in person. I just think this team has a lot of talent.
Yeah, it just hasn't, to your point, Jerry, it just hasn't clicked. D'Angelo Brooks, thank you for the super chat. Can this be an issue? The team doesn't know how to handle their opponent's best shot every week. More people hate Texas, especially in the NIL era. Jerry, I will say I do think there's a little bit of – and look, I mentioned two really good leaders on defense with Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill, but I do think this team, especially on offense, I've said this all year, it's hard to lead. This goes back to the arch point I made a minute ago. It's hard to lead when you're not playing well. Even if your best leader is a guy like DeAndre Moore, it's hard to lead when you're not either able to get the ball or it's not coming to you. I just think from that standpoint, this might sound harsh when I say it, but I've said this about other Texas teams. It's an emotionally immature team on offense. They are way too up and down, letting their performance impact them. Sometimes that's good. If it's going good, then you look like you can set the world on fire. But if it's bad, man, it snowballs and it's like quicksand and you just can't get out of it.
Feel-good teams are the worst teams. Or for me, anyways. The feel-good teams are the worst teams for me. It's like, because then it's just going to be like you're just going to be the boat drifting, right? It's just going to be way too up and down, and that's the worst thing you can be, especially in a really good league, especially on really good, really tough road venues. If you ride that roller coaster, you're toast.
Yeah,
you can't. That's in any of the sports, by the way. I mean, that's in any of the sports. Like that's not what you want to see as somebody who covers a team or a fan. Because if you're in a tough conference, Big Ten or SEC, good luck to you.
Man, feels like Shaka Smart Texas basketball in a nutshell right there, Jerry. You'd put together a couple of those a year, but then you'd lose a game you had no business losing. William Neese, thank you for the super chat. Is Sark mismanaging NIL? How did Sark allow a line situation to happen, spending the kind of money Texas has spent on NIL?
I mean, look, everything is going to be torn apart right now, and I get it. But it's like, then there's no consideration given for Trevor Gooseby. I mean, Trevor Gooseby wasn't a highly rated guy, right? I mean, and he's come in and he's going to be a draft pick. There's going to be other guys like that, like him as well. So, I get where people are coming from, but again, I'm just a little different on all this stuff. I just really am. I'm just a little different.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear they needed to press harder for O-line help in the portal. But I don't know, Jerry, it's just the way I am. Complaining about it after the fact, what good does it do you? It was a miscalculation.
If Emmett Mosley can't get hit in stride when he creates separation in the play, maybe a 40 or 50, 60, 70-yard play, how do you know what you got? You don't. You're guessing.
Yep. Hey, I'll say this: and I know kickers and punters don't take up a lot of your salary cap, but your portal pickups in the kicking game pretty much won you the game last night. Jeff Carey says, Jerry, just kind of add on to that. People are conflating pay for play and NIL. Jeff, thank you for the super chat.
Yeah.
Anything to add there, Jerry?
No, I think look, the other thing in the NIL era is, you have to. A really smart coach, he characterizes players in this way: live it, love it, like it. And in the NIL era, you have to find as many live it's as you can. Because if you just love it or you just like it, then the NIL is number one thing in success or to lose or to see issues around the locker room. You have to have a lot of guys that live it. And it's probably more important than at any other time in college athletics right now where we're at in the NIL era. You got to live it.
All right, real quick, two last super chats. Juan Garza, thank you for another super chat. Said, why drink to Auburn? Missouri not attractive. I don't know, Jerry. Look, Missouri's shown they'll pony up for NIL. They'll give Drink what he wants. I just look, man, Auburn at this point has to be so desperate to have a winning football program, you got to think they may just ask Drink, hey, name your dollar figure, and it's yours.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, look, Auburn is a historically underrated program. They won a national championship, obviously with Cam Newton. They played for another national championship. If you look at Auburn, that's actually a really good job. It's a hard job because, especially, it's been hard because of Nick Saban at Alabama and the pressure that creates. And now I think Kalen DeBoer can, the guy's always been a really good coach. People want to throw him out. Kalen DeBoer's a winner. He's won everywhere he's been. He's a top 3 or 4 coach in college football, in my opinion. He's going to make it tough on whoever's at Auburn. So Auburn can't – if they make a move here, they got to get the right guy, and they got to leave that guy alone. And that's the most difficult thing with the Auburn job is people have to leave the guy alone. But they have to hire the right guy because, Nick Saban made it really tough, but Auburn still played for 2 national titles and won one in the Saban era. But now, because Kalen DeBoer is going to have Alabama being really good, I think, on the next 10 years if he's there, then Auburn has to make the right hire. Yeah. And they got to leave him alone.
It's a fit. And, hey, look, they're winning right now. We'll see what happens when the calendar flips to November. That's why I like the Mike Elko hire, Jerry, because it fit. Like, it's kind of what A&M needs. Just no frills. There's nothing spectacular about Mike Elko. Just no frills, just a good ball coach that can – that'll win games. So it's all about fit. We'll end with Daryl's super chat. Thanks everybody again for the super chat. Said, I was at the game. This was not a difficult environment to play in. The only time the crowd had a pulse was when the Pope was on the Jumbotron. If our fortitude was tested there, we were in big trouble against the Cowbells. Jerry, as we look forward to Mississippi State, I hope that was the last. I'd like to think it's the last clunker and you got it out of your system, but the trajectory of this team tells you there might be one more of those in there somewhere. You just hope it's not next week.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's 0 for 2 on the road. I mean, you got to win against Kentucky, but that was an 0 for 2 in terms of what you expect and what you got.
Yeah.
So that's 0 for 2 in that regard. But because you played Kentucky, you won. If you play anybody else, that's a loss yesterday. So if it's anything close to Kentucky at Mississippi State, it's a loss. If it's anything close to Kentucky at Georgia, Kirby's going to run it up or try to, and that may be 21 points for Kirby. Oh, but he'll punch the light. If you show up, if a Kentucky performance shows up in Athens, Kirby will score the extra touchdown in that game. And I'm not saying it will happen because I do think Texas will emotionally get up, and I think human nature makes it difficult to get up on the road at Kentucky, especially after you beat Oklahoma. But again, the thing was, there's also the part of this that says, hey, man, 2 weeks ago, we didn't come to Florida prepared to answer the fight physically. And you knew Kentucky was going to give you your best shot. So there's a lot of ways to talk about this right now, but the bottom line for me is if anything close to that shows up on the road again, it's going to change from W to L unless the other team just hands you the football.
And I think Jeff Levy probably shows his team that tape. And when his staff watches that tape, they're like, look, we can beat Texas. Like, it's not like they're just some unbeatable superpower. So Mississippi State should be plenty confident with Texas going into Starkville this weekend. And we will talk about that this week on the channel and over on the site. Jerry, thanks for the knowledge and expertise as always. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes for producing it. Thank you to the chat, lively chat tonight. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats. Thank you to Rogue Shop for sponsoring it. If you're not a member over at OnTexasFootball.com, you want more Longhorn news, notes, and nuggets, get over to the site, sign up using the promo code OTFOG. That'll get you 1 year of access for $39.95. Also, make sure you like this video and that you're subscribed to the channel. That way, whether it's here on the channel or on the site, you're not missing any of our coverage all throughout Texas football season. We've got recruiting, basketball, a lot of stuff's heating up. We've got it all for you here.
I want to mention that for those that don't know, because some people might have missed it, Texas Hoops beat SMU in a closed door, air quotes for the podcast, scrimmage, 89-83. I was actually told that was 87-77 with about 2 minutes left. And when Sean Miller kind of shut it down, SMU had a couple of last-minute threes to make it 6. But Matas and Lucina didn't play. Minor. Lucina's just – they're not rushing that back. He's practicing. Matas, very minor thing. They want to be ready to roll for Duke. But Texas shot, I think, 11 of 29 from 3, so about 38%. Cam Heide shot it well. Jordan Pope shot it well. Kendall Weaver had 22. I think got to the free throw line 11 or 12 times in that game. Dalen Swain played really well. Nick Cody hit a couple threes, and they played small, and he played an undersized 5. And SMU has a really good point guard, and this Turkish big man will play 10 years high-level pro ball if he's not in the G League. 7'1" kid, really good. And SMU was 24-10 last year and maybe an NCAA tournament team this year. So some things to clean up. But I think Texas showed pretty well. Second scrimmage coming up Saturday in Fort Worth against TCU. Then you're off to Charlotte to play Duke. But I think the early returns, I think Sean Miller's a really, really good basketball coach. It's not going to be perfect year one. We'll get into we can talk about that another time. But the guy's on the right track, and he's really good. And I think he's going to play a style that Texas fans are going to like.
And shameless plug one more time. If you want to get ready for Texas basketball season, Jerry and I a couple of weeks ago did an in-depth interview with Sean Miller. We tried, Jerry. There's no fluff in that thing. We tried to stick to really good, serious basketball questions.
And by the way, our feedback was Sean loved the interview, and that's why it went 30 minutes because we were talking hoops and not about favorite restaurants.
Yeah, we tried to make it work, so I think it worked for everybody. Again, appreciate Coach Miller for taking the time there. Scott McConnell over at Texas always does a great job, so thanks everybody at the Texas basketball program for making that happen. All right, we got Lane. You got your super chat in right at the buzzer. Lane Seawright says
on right now, by the way.
Lane Seawright says, does Arch actually think that way about leadership, or are we just guessing? He's earned enough stripes. Team needs him to be the commander. Ho-hum hasn't worked. Anyways, I don't know if he views that as leadership, but Jerry, I just think that's natural for a young quarterback. Look, we've seen every quarterback at Texas early on has gone through that. I know we can go revisionist history about some of these guys and pretend that it was just all sunshine and rainbows, but Colt battled through it. VY battled through it. Major can tell you some stuff about it. We saw Sam go through it. Like, it's just all about finding yourself, finding your voice. And when you're not playing well, it's really hard to lead.
No, it's hard to do when you're missing wide open guys and you're missing the plays quarterbacks have to make, and then it starts to affect your confidence. It's going to be hard to be that leader because people get frustrated, and he gets frustrated. So he's got to play better. He's got to play better. He's got to be a playmaker and make the plays his team needs for him to then exude that and become the fiery guy that he is. It's hard to be fiery if you're missing 30-yard throws that are 30-yard gains. The underthrow to Wingo. I know it was a little windy at that time. The underthrow to Wingo on the deep ball and the go route early in that game. It's hard to exude all that if you're not playing well. He's got to play better.
No doubt.
He says, and by the way, he doesn't back off that. He says it.
Yeah, he owns it. And the guys we talk to are accountable, and they get it. They know they need to be better, and we'll see if it gets better next Saturday in Starkville. All right, that's going to do it for Jerry, from Matthew, for the On Texas football staff, and Jeff Howe. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching and listening. And until next time, actually, till tomorrow morning on Coffee and Football. Welcome.